Nice.
Are you gonna start with meditation?
We can. Yeah. Shall we?
Put my hair down. You lead it.
I don't know. Do you want? And then I'll still do like the intro, be like the episode number and like your name.
Okay. Begin to close down your eyes. Let yourself arrive in this moment, grounding your feet down to the earth. And allow your eyes to shut softly. Rotating your palms up facing the sky. Bringing to mind an intention for today. And taking a deep breath in. Exhale. And when you're ready, beginning to slowly open your eyes.
Welcome to the 27th episode of the One Shot Effect podcast. Today's lovely meditation hosting guest, Paige Goldstein.
Yay! Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Thank you. What has been your journey with meditation? Seeing as you just took us through a lovely little
grounding meditation. Yeah, I've been doing yoga and meditating for the past couple of years, and meditation in particular within this past year or so. It's been really powerful just to ground you into the present moment and helping you on your journey of self-discovery.
What has been your journey of self-discovery?
This is also a nice question. Yeah, I mean, I left to go travel. I'm from the US originally, and I left to travel in 2020 to study abroad in Australia. Studied abroad in Australia, and then fell in love with travel, and then continued traveling after, working as a digital nomad, so online and able to travel as well.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
What type of travel would you say appeals to you most?
Yeah. So I went to Australia first, and then the first spot I went to as a nomad was Hawaii. So I did Oahu and booked a one-way ticket to Hawaii, and from there it was just a lot of warm destinations, nature and normally like ocean, and a lot of spontaneous travel as well. Like, I'm not an itinerary girly, I'm not a planner, so it's nice to see what happens, like going with the flow too.
And that Hawaii trip was pivotal in a way, or like quite an important trip?
Yeah.
How vividly can you remember it, or yeah, how important was that trip for you?
Yeah. It was really special, and I think as nomads, you always remember your first destination. Like, it has such a special place. So I would love to go back to Australia and see if I love it as much as I remember it in a way, or if it's just the first spot I was really independent and traveling. And then with Hawaii, I also loved it. The only reason I left, I booked a one-way. I was like, will I be here for 1 month or a year? Am I gonna move here? I don't know. And ended up leaving just to find more of like a nomad remote work culture. Hawaii, a lot of people were like traveling and living based on like the surf, which I love, but I was starting my career, so I was like, how can I be around balance, like work and play?
Where have you found that balance most?
Yeah, good question. I have found it honestly here where we are in Cape Town. In the woods. No, Cape Town, South Africa has by far been my favorite spot. It's my 3rd year back here now.
Wow.
And there's such a great balance here, which I'm sure you felt too. As well as a nice balance I was in Tulum, Mexico, and there was a really big remote work culture there. Europe I found harder to nomad in, but yeah, Cape Town is really a great spot for digital nomads coming in and out.
And what other digital nomads do you usually meet?
Yeah. So many, especially here. It's something that I try to get really involved with locals, but also nomads, and joining community events, just doing things that you like. I think so much when you travel, you overcomplicate how to meet new people. And I always just go back to like, how am I going to go do what I want to do to meet people that are aligned? And it's so easy to get caught in our own heads of like, how do I make friends? How do I find new connections? And it's like, how do you go hike? How do you go do yoga? How do you go do all these things that you like? And then you'll naturally find community in that way.
What has been your favorite communities or interests?
Here in Cape Town?
And in general?
In life?
I suppose it evolves as well.
Yes. Yoga has been something that I'll always go back to. So I think something powerful about yoga is no matter what language you speak, like yoga is yoga. And I think that's really cool about like dancing in particular and yoga. And I've done it every single place I've lived traveling in the past 3 years. And so I've done yoga in Panama, and I've done yoga in Costa Rica and South Africa and Croatia and Greece. And it's just that common thread for me that like you can connect with people who are like-minded even if you don't speak the same language. So yoga is something I go back to a lot. As well as hiking. Like I normally will try to be in a spot with nature and do a lot of hiking or community hikes and stuff as well if there is that.
That's awesome.
Yay.
And how long have you had like the dream of being a digital nomad?
Yeah.
Has that been a dream of yours? Or?
Yes, it has been. I feel like some people get into nomading and they're like, this has been my lifelong dream, or like, I have zero idea how we even got here, but it's happening. And me, I knew in 10th grade, is it 10th grade? Yeah, probably around then. I just had this strong feeling, and I had an internship in college for 3 months where I was commuting into Boston in the city. And it was 3 months, but I was like, I will not be doing this. And then I'm always like working backwards in my life. So I was like, okay, I'm going to try going into the office, and I don't like it. So how do I not ever have to commute again? Because you have that control and power in your life. And I mean, it's sounding quite dramatic, but I just knew I didn't like going in on the train. I just saw everyone around me felt so like lifeless, and like you can create your life to feel fulfilled and excited. And so at that point I knew I wanted to work remotely, and I started working remotely when I was in college and worked pretty much full-time my senior year of university, and then only applied to remote jobs. And I was pretty clear at the point I was applying what space I wanted to go into. Then I was in the like tech e-commerce space and was fully remote. Like we didn't have an office, so I was also very open of like, okay, when I join I'm gonna go nomad. And I think that's important. There's a lot of people I know who start nomading and they're like hiding that part of them. And I think that can be really difficult, especially living in alignment or like logging onto your calls with a Zoom background that's blurred. Being like, yeah, I'm working from home, at home, but like they're actually traveling, you know?
Facts.
Yes.
Rock climbers.
Cool.
So that cave I was telling you about, people also rock climbing there.
So cool. Rock climbers past us.
Yeah, I was so okay. I want to hear more about like your childhood and like your upbringing, and even just like other, like, yeah, before digital nomading, what like called to you first, or?
Yes. So I didn't grow up doing much international travel. I also don't really remember having that much of a pull to it. what made me excited to go do it was that I was like scared of it. And looking back, I'm like, wow, that was quite like a bold way to tackle a fear in a way. But I remember being so scared of being independent and so scared of like doing things outside of how I was doing them, but I was also so pulled to it. And so a lot of fear, but booking that ticket to study abroad was really powerful. But I did a lot of like good family trips like around in and around where I'm from. Just less international trips in that way. But once I was in university, I was pretty set. I'm like, I would love to be able to work remote and travel, and that was always like my North Star to get to. And it just opens up your life and world more when you can see the world and also work. It's like, I like the quote, work you live to, what is this? You work to live, not live to work.
Facts.
If you can twist it the other way, then you're living your whole life just to work, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What has been your like journey with work and building your own things versus being a part of other things?
Yes. I've always had like an entrepreneurial spirit, I think. And always just have had a ton of ideas. Like in my notes phone on my phone, since I've had a phone, I just have like business ideas. And it's just like things that would solve problems or just creations. And I took an entrepreneurship course in college, which I just knew I was more interested in, and studied psychology. Look at this bug.
Ooh, pretty.
She's a big one.
Yeah, we have our third podcast guest. And she flies.
And she flies.
Oh,
Anyways.
Epic.
Entrepreneurship, and I was working remotely, and it was at a startup, so I've always been also pulled to startups, female founders, female leaders, or just like visionary founders. I worked at Bumble.
What?
And I was with them when they IPO'd, so like that was just really expansive for me to be on a team with the youngest female founder and just to see what's possible by like doing things differently. And like, I mean, Bumble was doing so much differently. Like, women have to swipe first, all of these are talk first, and just breaking norms and boundaries, and always been pulled to that. And then working with other startups, which is also very entrepreneurial. And then, I was able to, I got promoted within my company quite quick while nomading, and really, really loved it up until like the 3rd year mark of being there. And I also at that time was doing more self-discovery of retreats and more meditation and really finding out like what my purpose was. And also slowing down travel allowed me to have the space to be like, what do I want to do? And traveling at first was very much like, this job is just allowing me to travel and not creating space to think about like, do I love this? Or is it just something I'm doing? And so slowing down, things come to the surface like, oh, are you happy? Are you fulfilled? Do you like this? And I was in sales. And when you begin to not feel super passionate about what you're selling, it becomes really hard for someone who's purpose-led. And at that point I decided to leave, and it was so clear to me after like going on it wasn't a silent retreat, but a weekend retreat without Wi-Fi and service, and super inward, did a lot of breath work and meditation, and came out of it like, I need to leave. I just have this clarity. I don't know what's next, but I know I need to leave. And from there it was a long journey into just finding my purpose as well, and leaning into posting on LinkedIn. And in that point that I left, I was like, okay, I have 2 options. One, I stop posting and building my personal brand until I have a new title, or I still just post because I'm still doing things. I'm just not at this company. And that was this pivotal moment for me of like, how do I lean into just being honest of like, I am choosing to leave, I'm not sure what's next, and like humanizing it. And that's when I grew the most on LinkedIn. And from there, crafted my profile to attract the next opportunity that I wanted, which was pivoting into like tech spirituality. And then I was aligned, got clear on who I wanted to work with and for, and like manifested essentially this exact role and founder that I ended up working with in the spirituality space. So it was a tech product and app with breathwork, meditation, all these other holistic practices. And then when I was in this role, was helping their team with their LinkedIn profiles and how do we bring spirituality and these more taboo topics to LinkedIn. And I already knew there was something with LinkedIn and coaching, and then now I founded my own company called The Ripple Effect, and that is bringing more soul-led content to LinkedIn through coaching cohorts, through one-on-one coaching, through mastermind and events as well. Yeah.
That's so cool. And what has been people's experiences with Ripple Effect and your experience with Ripple Effect?
It's so interesting to reflect on, because I did a post on LinkedIn of like, I never expected the Ripple Effect to be a part of my healing journey in a way. But it's been so healing for me to create one creation. I always say depression, the opposite of depression is soul expression or creation. And so expression through creating is really powerful. So creating something that you feel purpose and fulfillment, but also creating something that you wish that you had. And so when I started posting on LinkedIn, even when I was in the corporate space, I was still posting in a very male-dominated corporate salesy space. And as a young female who didn't feel like I fit that exact title, I would wish I had someone else who was doing things differently to guide me or show me how to use it and empower me to use it differently. And then also just a safe space to know okay, these are your opinions and you feel like this black sheep, but actually the shift from black sheep to pioneer, and how a lot of soul-led content is progressive and needed on a platform like LinkedIn as well.
Yeah. And did you feel like there was much mentorship in your journey? Or?
Yeah, definitely. I think I had so many amazing role models for different parts of my life. And also I think you get to a certain point of self-discovery in a certain age where you also know what you want, and going back inward of we sometimes look so externally at finding mentors or finding role models, but I believe we have everything within us. And so it's how do you find ways to actually trust yourself, which is very hard, and trusting your intuition and your voice. And I oftentimes would find myself looking outward of what does this person think, or this advice, or this, or what do I do next? But everyone's story is different. And also your role models that once were can shift to not be role models when you want to live life differently. So I did find it quite hard when I had this realization of well, I want to do things differently, and so who do you follow if you are paving the path, so it's how do you go back to yourself and find this path within yourself. But I found a lot of fulfillment and clarity in working with coaches and mentors. And so I worked with a coach last year on somatic breath work, and she was essentially a guide to bring you back to yourself. And I also think the best coaches and mentors empower you to know what you want within yourself. And then I've been working on my yoga teacher training, and my mentor there is more of a spiritual mentor of also guiding you back to yourself, and just wisdom through different books and different modalities, and daily practices around meditation too.
And do you feel like the somatic breathing and the yoga was a big part of your career success in a way, or it's almost you need to fill your cup in a way, or how do you balance that, or how important has the breath work been for you in yoga, and do they come together, or?
Yeah, I definitely think they're super important, especially with clarity of if you're on your own path. I think it's so easy. I mean, I'm from the US, and it's so easy to just you're on this direct path. Some people call it a hamster wheel of you're on it, and now you're just on it, and it's okay, have you gone to school? Now you have student loans. Now you need to get a job. Now you're working 50 hours a week. And like, it's so easy to be on that. And so practices like breathwork and meditation help get you back to your true self. And with your true self, it also shares clarity on, your business or your creation or how your purpose and how you can serve people too.
And what has been like people's experiences like with your ripple effect and your cohorts, and like what holds people back?
Yes. It's been so rewarding to see the growth of the women who have gone through the cohorts. It's so empowering to empower them to speak their truth, and it's a 3-month container. We meet as groups and personalized coaching, and then we have a community chat as well as like a co-creation piece, so they all can share their gifts in the space, which is something that's really powerful. But we've had women come in who have said, like, I've never shared this part of me on LinkedIn. I've never posted on LinkedIn. I'm very scared to post. I'm scared of judgment. I'm scared of judgment from family, friends, coworkers. And my mission is to make people feel safe enough and supported enough by everyone that they can begin to show up authentically. And I always say 2 things happen. 1, you realize that the people in your life are out of alignment. So you start posting about, I am spiritual, I'm a digital nomad, I believe this. And then you have this pushback or resistance, or maybe you're at a company and your employer's like, you need to delete that. And so that's one thing. And then you have a decision, like, okay, do I delete this, or is this explaining something bigger? And then the second thing is that they're like, wow, I had no idea about this side of you, and please express yourself more authentically. And then that brings more fulfillment in the workplace and your connections in the world, etc. And so LinkedIn is very much just this vehicle of what happens when you show up, but it's bigger than that. It's like this inner work and noticing these patterns when you begin to show up authentically and build your brand like true to who you are, even on a platform that's pretty corporate and masculine and rigid.
And why LinkedIn?
Yeah, such a good question. LinkedIn, I've always felt this draw to since high school, and I've always loved connecting, meeting new people, networking, new connections, and I've always felt like that, hearing people's stories, seeing where people are from. And I always have kind of thought of LinkedIn like that, when it was really just promotions of like, I got a promotion, I got this. I was always like, there's more to people. Like, that's just a little percent of people's lives, sometimes bigger percent. And hearing people's stories, and then also the power of having a brand. Like, people will join a company and they're like, they were a good culture fit. But how do you know they're a good culture fit? Because they go through the whole interview process, and then you hire them, and then you know. But what if you just had a brand that's your culture fit? Like, oh, he also likes this, he also likes this. And then it just makes sense. Like, you're way more open, and then you have more leverage. So every job I've gotten has been from LinkedIn, but not from applying, from like actually messaging the founder or the hiring manager and saying, I want to work there. And then you're in the driver's seat of your life when you are controlling your brand.
Facts.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like, the way we do anything is the way we do everything. So it's like, I'm sure the things that like the people you learn is like applied to like any social media and the way you express yourself in any situation.
Yes. Yeah, so the way the 3 months cohort set up is authentic creator mindset. So the whole first month is limiting beliefs, going back inward of like, how do I feel about posting? How does it feel to even update my profile photo out of like my professional corporate thing into something that feels more aligned? How do I change my bio from like, this is what I do, to like, this is who I am? And noticing like, that was super hard for me. That felt so freeing. I still feel like I can't talk about this. And then also the creator mindset of like, how do you keep showing up? And so I always say, don't look at your numbers on LinkedIn for the first 3 months. just focus on consistency and authenticity and just showing up and showing up. And how that feels, because some people are like, I got 2 likes, I'm not going to post again. And then it's like, what is that asking for you to see within yourself as well? Yeah.
And so yeah, it's like you've had your own journey with posting, which is like also in a way like your testimonial, like, and then you help other people to do that for themselves as well.
Yeah, and like, how do you create an authentic personal brand? And so it's exactly geared for LinkedIn, but there is content that we go over around multi-channel approach. Like, how does this apply to all of your personal brand, and what does a personal brand do for you? And how can you think backwards of like, this is my end dream reality. How do I manifest this through my brand and my content?
So cool. And like, what is your LinkedIn bio? How do you describe yourself?
Yeah.
And I suppose that's been its own journey for yourself.
Yeah. What's so cool is that your personal brand can evolve with you. And I think so many of us get a block around that. And it's like, well, I can't create my brand until I'm super clear on what I want to do. And like, I want my own company, so I'm not going to start my brand until I start my company. But for me, my personal brand has grown with me since literally high school to now. And so you shift and you edit your brand as you go. And so in high school, I was talking about, I think I posted in high school, I actually don't remember, but like volunteering things that make me stand out. And then in college, I was talking about how I was working, what I was doing in the marketing space, and graduating and what that felt like. And then that helped me with getting a job. And then from the jobs, I was in sales, so I was posting about the product we were selling. And I stopped doing cold calls. I barely emailed, and I was just posting. Wow. And then our ideal ICP would message me like, hey, I need this because you post about it and it solves what I need. And I was just like, there's something here of like, you're consistent enough, you're authentic enough, and then you solve someone's problem, and then they know who to go to. And then so my persona became very much e-commerce. I was selling like a text message marketing platform, so I was known for like text message marketing. But I did it in my own brand voice that it could shift. And then I shifted to digital nomad life, traveling, remote work, how to find remote jobs. And then as I really got deeper into my like spiritual journey, I posted a lot about like conscious conversations, like how do we think bigger beyond just what we do. And a lot of my journal prompts, I would start to share different topics and thoughts I had. And now it's a lot on soul-led personal branding, like how do you build your brand, and giving tips on building your brand on LinkedIn with a mix of like conscious conversations and like my reflections.
Wow.
Yeah.
What's been your spiritual journey?
Yeah. So, yeah, I've always practiced yoga, and within the past year or so after that retreat, just very much inclined to go more inward. And as much as when you first think of like spirituality and yoga, you think of like happy-go-lucky, and for me it's been a lot of dropping this like a label around like happiness and dropping this label around like positivity, and more of like how can you embrace all parts of the human experience and emotions. And that was really hard for me at first because I am a very optimistic person, so it was learning like how do you be optimistic but also allow yourself to go through like a really dark period. And I don't know how deep your audience is in regards to spirituality, but it's just like ego versus soul, and on this path you're very much shedding layers of yourself and learning that like this process is subtraction, not addition. So much of the US health culture is like, I'm gonna add this protein powder, I'm gonna add this green juice, I'm gonna add this supplement, I'm gonna buy this thing, and it's like I never found fulfillment in that. I never found myself in that. It's more of this subtraction. Like, how do I sit in stillness for a day? How do I undo these layers and this conditioning that comes just from existing within society as well. Yeah, and then through that, you're shedding layers of your ego. So it's an ego death. And so within ego death, you're going through that process, and how that can be a very dark journey towards experiencing more lightness. Yeah. What about you?
Yeah, we were speaking a little bit about this before the podcast. Yeah. It's hard to describe. Sometimes you put it so well. Like, yeah, I feel like even music and nature has been a big part of it for me, but definitely meditation and being a part of this really cool foundation, the Art of Living Foundation. I've done their like breathwork course a couple times.
Yeah.
That's been really cool. I did a 10-day silent meditation retreat.
Wow.
That was quite insightful to see, what's it like without a phone, without a notepad, with just me and my thoughts, and like letting them go. And it's kind of like, what you're saying, like the whole less is more. It's a journey for sure. What are some helpful tools that you've had along the way, or mentors?
Yeah. Nature, I would say, is a big one. The bug is
So
back.
pretty.
Meditation, breath work.
What does meditation look like? We'll feel it.
Yeah. Meditation is simply just sitting and being with your thoughts. It also can look like walking meditation. It can look like painting. It can look like swimming, like allowing yourself to just be in the present moment. And also it's becoming aware of your thoughts and like detaching from your thoughts so that you are the observer and you're not in the thought. And that's been very, very powerful to see, like, okay, what thoughts feel true to me, or are thoughts even true, and just watching them and through that process. Yeah.
Yeah, that actually reminds me of the like 10-day Vipassana I did. Like all these great ideas come and you're like, but you can't do anything with them, so you just have to like let them come and go. And that's also part of it, is not like attaching to them, like craving and avoiding. We do so much craving and avoiding through life. We want to feel this, we don't want to feel that. But it's just like, you can like meditate through it all, and it's like nothing lasts forever, good or bad. So it's like, even you're sitting there and your like back's a little sore, like see how long it lasts. Maybe it will last, maybe it won't, but you can like breathe through it all. There's something there. Definitely. Could you ever see yourself doing like a 10-day silent meditation retreat? Or?
I'd love to. Vipassana, something definitely probably on the horizon.
Yeah, how do you find like taking time away from internet, screens, like with digital nomading, balancing that?
Yeah, I think it's something that's so hard within society, especially as creators. As creators, your job is to be on your phone and to create, but it's also how do you use social media. So I always try to be creating more than I'm consuming, and then I feel positively towards social media. I think it's for those who are consuming more than they're creating. It can get quite toxic. And so I love to balance the two and use it for inspo, but also use it as a spot to share my voice and to share my creations. Also think there's something so amazing about a break from screens. Before, when I was working in corporate traveling, I was working until like midnight in South Africa. And so that screen time
Sleep
really
is another
got
topic
me.
as well.
Yeah,
of digital nomading, weird hours, I guess.
Yeah, and how screen time impacts sleep and the time that you're watching whatever you're doing on your screen or working to sleep. So yeah, definitely a lot there.
Is that like a something you'd like to have a different balance with, like being able to take 10 days off, or when that feels right, I guess?
Yeah, I think at the space I am at now, I definitely could. Like, I have a trip coming up to Norway.
Ooh.
We're gonna do van life, which I'm excited for.
What does that mean to you? What
Van
does that
life?
look like? Yeah.
We rented a van and we're gonna live in the van and travel in the van. In Lofoten Islands, so in nature.
Ooh.
And I took off, like I won't have any client calls or
Wow.
coaching calls then.
Will you, I mean, I'm sure you'll be creating. Can you imagine how the creating might look, or vlogging, or?
Yeah, I'll definitely bring my journal to write. Maybe I'll turn my phone on airplane mode.
Okay.
And use it as like a camera, something like that. But I love writing. It's like my form of creation that it comes really natural to me.
What's been your journey with writing?
Yeah.
I feel like you were writing good stories in school. I don't know, and like our schools we had to always do like creative writing.
Yeah.
That was fun.
I don't remember too much writing like as a kid, but I've always been fascinated by reading books around people's like stories and like short reads, but more realistic about like people's lives or travel, as well as documentaries that are more like realistic. And I started journaling since I've studied abroad, and so that's really when I started my journaling journey of like writing. And people put such constraints on journaling as well, like I don't know what to say, I don't have a prompt, but the power of it is that it's your journal, so you can say anything you want, but it's just getting pen to paper and like expressing yourself and seeing, I always say, like stream of consciousness, like what happens when you just write, what downloads you have on the paper. Do you journal much?
I do here and there. I'm definitely thinking like there's always more that could be journaled. I guess for me, I really like even like video journaling or like audio journaling. And I think that's even like there's no rules. Like whatever works for you. Like pen and paper is so cool. But if like recording a video or recording an audio feels more comfortable, like it's. Are you comfortable?
I'm comfortable. There is a little bug on my foot, so it's moving.
Cool.
Yeah, I like your live streams that you do.
That feels like a live journal in a way.
That is a live journal for everyone to hear.
That's true. Yeah, what would be like your journaling advice? Or...
Yes. Depends what you're working on. I have like journal prompts that I have created. So I've done a few like journaling workshops online and in person, and often the ones I've done have been around finding your authentic self. So just questions. I think it's so easy to ask other people questions, but it's like, what happens if I ask myself this question? And one that I really like is just like, how do I want to live my life? I feel like sounds simple, but also you think about it and it's like, oof, like you are in the driver's seat, you can control it, and just this awareness of and what I'm doing every single day, what I want to do. And so that's a powerful question. Who am I? Who am I without titles or labels? Because when all of that is pulled away, like what is your identity? We put like so many labels and titles on ourselves. So that's a powerful question. What fulfills me, like what lights me up? A lot of introspection questions,
that I suppose you've used to help like shape who you are, or help get insights as well.
Yeah, definitely have used them. And I also just love journaling, like, what did I do today? How did it feel? What was my high of the day? What was my low of the day? How am I feeling? I feel like we never ask ourselves, like, how am I feeling? Like, checking in, like, oh, actually, I feel super, super sad today. And why? And where does that all stem from? And so giving yourself space to like really reflect and tune into how you feel.
Like, is that a daily thing? Do you sometimes like feel blocked? And like, when do you feel like most inspired to like create, which I guess could either be journaling or even inspired to share?
Yeah. I would say I go through phases of journaling daily. There's also like, when I'm journaling, I'm like normally going through a harder time. So I'm also like, how do I journal? I'm still working on how do I journal when I'm going through a really amazing time. And I think that's powerful.
That's me vlogging.
Yeah.
It's like, feels like a different kind of journal, yeah.
Yes. And so balancing that. Because then you can use your own journal prompts when you are having a lower moment to be like, whoa, remember this day? That was freaking like amazing, you know? And I also would do daily journaling through traveling to be like, so much happened today. Like, I think I'll remember it, but like, I don't remember what I did a year ago. Like the details of like an amazing moment and the people and the strangers you met and like silly little things that happen. It's like the journaling's powerful to remember it. Then you piece it with like photos and stuff too.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think journaling's very, very powerful for people. Also like voice memos to yourself, vlogs, like you said, any modality that feels like you can express yourself. And then when I'm most creative, yeah, it's normally after like a yoga class or movement or doing something I enjoy. And I also always tell people, especially on LinkedIn, like, don't force yourself to write. Like, allow yourself to get inspired. And have you read much of Rick Rubin? Little. He has like the Creative Act, and he says in there that he believes creators are just like this vessel for sharing to the world. So I also believe in not forcing it and just allowing like whatever arises in the present moment to trust that's what's supposed to be shared too.
Yeah, how much of it's coming from you? How much of it is like, if you can't just force yourself, have a good idea.
Yeah, exactly. You can't force yourself to do it, and just allowing what comes up, but also pulling from experiences and also based on who you want your content to reach, how you want people to feel from it, and your intention of why you're even posting or sharing in the first place.
Yeah. It seems like there's definitely like a fascination with questions and answers with you.
Yes.
Like it makes sense that you had your own podcast or have your own podcast.
Yes.
How many episodes have you done, and what's that journey been like, and memorable
Yes.
moments?
I started it with one of my best friends, and it's called Feel Your Soul Podcast, and the episodes are still out there for anyone who needs a certain topic and lesson. And we did it while traveling.
Wow.
And we started it more because I started sharing content on TikTok. We all did, and just realized a lot of people had questions like, okay, you guys are traveling, how'd you find remote work? And we were answering the same question over and over again. And I was like, how can we create this so it's a resource and send it out to everyone? And while you're working, it was a nice like passion side project. And it was so fulfilling, and also we had guests on when we traveled.
Okay.
And so it was
So
empowering
a lot of solo
people to
episodes as well.
Yeah, we did some just us
like
having
it.
a combo, and then we did episodes on like interviewing people of like what fills their soul and empowering people to do what fills their soul, fill your soul. And then talking about travel too. And something will potentially continue, but when I started the Ripple Effect, I was like, how do I create space for one focus and just allowing chapters to pause or shift for new ventures and stuff as well. So it's really special. I still get messages of people who find the episodes when they need them, and it's just feels valuable for me to have resources out there for whoever it can find and serve.
Yeah.
And I actually had someone apply to the Ripple Effect cohort who said they listened to every single Feel Your Soul episode. So it's cool how stuff can be interconnected when they follow your personal brand as well. So all good value. It's just knowing in the moment what speaks to you most in terms of creation. And also something from my mentor was like reflecting on, are you Are you digging a bunch of little holes, or are you digging one big hole? And I was like, I was digging a bunch of little holes, and that can burn you out. That can make you, the bug, that can burn you out, and it can also make you spread thin, so you're not going deep in anything. And I realized, like, okay, if I'm in this podcast, which feels exciting, but I don't know if this is my end-all be-all purpose and creation for the world and a business, then is that taking away energy from this creation, which ended up being the ripple effect as well.
Which is more conversation and more one-on-one groups getting to know each other, right?
Yeah, and I have a lot of purpose and fulfillment in bringing people together and making people feel like they're not alone. And the podcasting is amazing, but I feel like it's more resources. People have their own individual journey with it.
It maybe lacks the group element that the cohorts can deliver. And then, I think that kind of actually leads to this question of, well, like, how do you balance, like, what do you share, what don't you, and kind of like the privacy of that, which I guess is like, in a sense, it's like your cohort isn't as public as your podcast was in a way, but allows for more intimate, like, group and like more intentional.
Yes, and something that was really hard for me as I was stepping into a more raw, vulnerable, authentic version of myself, to bring that to a podcast setting when I was going through my spiritual awakening, going through a dark night of the soul, and I didn't feel like talking every single day and I didn't feel like sharing what I was still understanding myself. And writing to me was this natural modality of, I can be authentic, but I'm also not like live speaking about it as I go along, and I can also go back and edit any posts as I want, or delete something. And podcasting is a lot more raw, I feel like, to share every journey along the way. And in terms of what I share, it's hard because authenticity really helps you grow. It helps you build deep connections, but it's also this privacy piece of what do you really want to share. And so I think it's so personal based on everyone's level of openness, and also what is your purpose of being really open, and asking yourself that too. Like, is it to help someone else so that they feel seen, or is it just to share? Is it for pity, and like knowing your why? Because I think some people go full the other way of like, I'm gonna be super raw, talk about how I was depressed and suicidal, but what is your why? And then it's like, I want to make someone who also feels like that not feel alone, or just want to share. So knowing the purpose, I think, will make you feel more confident in sharing it.
That's very true. It's very,
how do you feel about it?
Delicate balance. I think it's also like, what do we want to focus on? It's like there's context, which can be super important, but then it's also like, how do we phrase it? And like, I guess talking like past and like present. I guess the question of like dwelling on the past, or like being honest about the context. It's a challenge.
And I always say, like, it sounds scary, especially if you haven't experienced a lot of pain yet, or lowness, anxiety, depression, but I always say pain brings purpose. And so typically when you're experiencing pain, your purpose is on the other side of it. And so now looking back, I'm like, definitely that was the case for me. I'm like, okay, I would not have known exactly what I wanted to do unless I went through the situation to create this safe space and container for other people.
I mean, like, you also can empathize to the places you've been the most.
Right.
I mean, I've felt that quite a lot with, like, I think, like, a big weight loss journey, which allows me to have, like, so much empathy for people who struggle with their weights and, like, health. And even allows me to, like, speak to them and myself in different ways.
Right. And just having had that shared experience.
For sure. Shared experience is so cool. But it's like, we all have shared experiences. It's just like translating the context, I guess. Exactly that. No matter what it is, there's this like oneness to all of us, I really believe. But it's whether or not people are open to seeing that. Yeah. I mean, what has it been like for you to connect to people so authentically? Like the people that resonate with your social media is very different than the people that wouldn't maybe resonate with your social media, 5 years ago or.
Yeah, I like to think of it like posting authentically like trims your trees in a way. Like it weeds out or it trims off these dead branches that like are no longer serving you, and then it allows you to flourish and grow more. And so it's scary because you're like, I'm gonna lose this person's gonna unfollow me, this person's gonna think it's weird, but also these are like branches you're trimming off to then bloom more and to find, okay, this person's gonna come into my life. And it's the shedding process as well, but it's also really empowering because now switching your way you perceive social media to this isn't for who I went to high school with, this isn't for my family, this isn't for a friend I met last month even, this is for people who don't know you yet and that they can find you if they need you. And that was so clear to me once people applied to the cohort for the Ripple Effect, and they all came from LinkedIn, and I didn't know them, but they found me through my content, and then we met and we were super aligned and I could fully serve them. And things that I felt or think during a week, I log on to a coaching call and they're all like, I felt the same thing, this happened to me as well. And so it's this connection when you are authentic and you do meet the right souls and connections that are going through this similar path as you, even if it is really different than most people in the world too. Yeah.
It makes me like so excited just to see how it will evolve. Do you have ideas? Do you like, I mean, I don't know how much you want to speak on, like, I don't know. I mean, it's like, this has only been, it's like a year old, less?
Yeah.
It's like
she's less than a year.
10 years,
she's a baby. Like 6 months. 6 months, about. And it's been so powerful. So the Ripple Effect's mission is to get more soul-led content on LinkedIn and to get more light workers and healers on LinkedIn. I found a big gap with my role models not being present on there. So there's not a lot of yoga teachers, there's not a lot of retreat hosts, there's not a lot of these change makers.
Where are they?
They're on Instagram or they're offline. But their voices are so important and in my opinion more important than a lot of the other content that's on there, and to awaken LinkedIn. And so I always picture my content and everyone that goes through the Ripple Effect community and the containers, cohorts, to be reaching people who don't even know that they need it, but it slowly begins to like shift and just open their mind up to like, am I living authentically? Am I living the life that I want to? And I truly think it's going to evolve into bigger. I can see right now we have a part 1, how to build your brand authentically. Part 2 cohort after that is soul-led selling. So once you have your own offering, your own gift, how do you sell from a soul-led place? And then we have the Ripple Effect community, and so that's everyone in it together who's been in the cohorts, and it is currently in one. And I really just see it evolving and the interconnectedness of all the cohorts, as well as potentially like retreats in the future and partnerships with other like aligned individuals. The co-creation piece is really powerful because everyone can share their gifts. So we've had sound healing, we've had human design sessions, we've had like a hypnotherapy, spinal energetics. So it's just this blend of everyone sharing, and that also creates a lot of value. Wow. And then it's a co-creation as well with everyone. Yeah.
That's so exciting to just build such a cool community of co-creation as well.
Yes.
Wow. Is there any questions that you are almost like wishing I would have asked, or things you feel like speaking on?
Yeah. I would say like in podcast settings like this, it's so easy to have all the answers and share, these highlights, but also that like it's such a journey, and I did not have this clarity like even a few months ago. And so just allowing life to unfold for you and not rushing it. Like I feel like I've always been yeah, like searching for like, what is it that I want to do? What is it that I want to do that feels fulfilling? And then also just like, how do you allow yourself to just trust the process of the unfolding? And I'm really practicing that with the ripple effect of like, how do I just really enjoy this moment that I'm in with it being like 6 months old and how it feels, and not rushing ahead to when it's like 2 years old and what that's going to look like. And so just trusting the phase that you're in, but also allowing time to reflect, like, is this the path that I want to go? And am I living in alignment? And these constant questions, so that you don't get sucked into this, yeah, like blindness of not really being aware if you're living your life how you want to.
Feels like there's a big like theme of like following the curiosity, like, and finding the things that work for you, and like tools and people that resonate. And like it makes sense that it's all kind of led to this in a way, like looking back.
Yes.
Do you see like, oh, that makes sense? Or
it makes so much sense, because I loved LinkedIn. It's like, why did I love it so much? But when I think about LinkedIn, I also think about, it makes sense because I love meeting new people. My favorite semester out of college was my first semester, because it was just so expansive and so everyone's open-minded and everyone's open to connecting, and I loved that. There's such an excitement and like newness to me. It's also why I love travel, because you start your month over, you're in a whole new place, you're living a whole other life. And so I love meeting new people, and that connection piece, also bringing people together in partnerships, and that makes a lot of sense. Also, I studied psychology, so I thought I wanted to be a therapist or a psychologist. And I was always like, I want to help people who really want to help themselves and they're ready to like up level. And that's also where this is, you know? So it makes a lot of sense. And just trusting, looking back, like how everything was a bit interconnected too.
Wow.
Yeah.
What an inspiring story. What an inspiring journey that I feel like we can only capture a little bit of.
You're right? Yeah, but so beautiful. We're doing it out here.
Feels fitting. You should leave Cape Town soon.
Yeah, I'll leave Cape Town next week. And then I head back to the US for a little. And then to Europe. But I'll be back to Cape Town. Like, this is like my home, you know? So it's such a special place.
Yeah. I'm so glad we could record in Cape Town.
Me too. Yeah, thanks for having me. So special to meet you here too.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thanks for listening.
Yeah. We can do a closing meditation.
Sure.
Okay. If you're listening, begin to shut your eyes softly. Notice how your breath feels coming in and out of your nose. And ask yourself, how does my body feel? And take a deep breath in. Exhale it out. Bring to mind something that you're grateful for today. Notice how that feels in your body. I'm grateful for this session and for all of you listening. And bring to mind something that you love. This could be yourself. This could be nature. Just allow yourself to fill with this feeling of love. And love and gratitude are some of the highest frequencies. So bringing to mind and noticing how your body feels with gratitude and love will have a ripple effect on the rest of your day. I'm taking one last collective breath in. Exhale it out your mouth. When you're ready, beginning to open your eyes. Namaste.
Namaste.
Thanks, everyone.
Awesome.